all of you, hope you guys are great. Welcome back to part 2. In the first video, we have built the entire core functionality of our tracking dApp. We have written the smart contract, we have written the context management, and we have built all this folder infrastructure, and we have done the configuration in the contract. So if you haven't watched the first part, make sure to watch it, because we are building this dApp project in two parts. In the first part, we have built the entire system, and now we're going to design the front end. So this is where we left in the last video, and if I show you, because I have already started the applications, this is how it looks right this moment. So this is where we left in the last video. We have the snap bar, index, and footer. So now we're going to start working on the very first page. Come back to index.js and let's write the code for our index page. So we're going to import a couple of things from React: use state, use effect, and use context, and that's coming from React. Now we're going to do internal imports. In the internal import, we're going to import the first thing, we have to import the tables, because in this dApp we have already built the folder infrastructure, all the tables component, but we haven't written any code into that table. So let's import that for the safer side, and we're going to add the code one by one. So we need tables, we need form, we need services section, we need the profile section, we need the complete shipment section, we need the get shipment, get start shipment, and these are all coming from the components index. So hope if you haven't watched the last video, make sure to watch, then this will make sense. Now we have to import the tracking context, because this will give us the data about our entire context management, which I have explained in detail in the first part, and that's coming from the context tracking context. So these are the imports we have. Now we have to take this index, because we're going to build this page. So we'll say const index, and in that we're going to write all the logics, all the functionalities. So what I will do, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take the data. So let's take the data. We'll take the current user address, whoever will interact with the applications, and these all data is coming from the create context. Okay, so let's import the data, then we'll import the context. So then we have to take the create shipment. This is the function we have exported in the last video, so make sure to watch it. Then we have this get all shipment, complete shipment, we'll have the get shipment, we'll have the get start shipment, we'll have get shipment count, and these all functions are coming from use context tracking context. So we have all of the functions with user address. Now we're going to take this state variables, and in that we have to store data. So we'll take a state variable called current shipment models and state shipment model, and initially it will be false, because every single model services will have its own model box. So when you click on that, it will open a pop-up and you can type the data and it will give you the data. Okay, so that's the approach I'm taking. So this is the first state variable we have. Now let's take the another one. We'll say open profile. Initially it will be false. Now we'll take this start model and it will be false initially. Then we have this another one. We'll take complete model and set complete. Initially it will be false. The last one we have to take get model, and this will be false. And these are the state variable we have taken. Now we have to take the data state variable. In that we're going to take this all shipments data. It will become in the form of array. So in this we're going to store that one. So that's the state variable we have for the data for the one. Now we'll come here and we're going to take this use effect, and in that we have to call the function when someone reload the browser. So that's why we are taking use hook. We'll say const get campaign data, and we're going to call this function get all shipments, and in that we're going to simply return this. We have to use this async behaviors because there is a synchronous behavior is going on. That's why we have to utilize it. And in that we're going to simply take this. We'll say const all data await get campaign data. So this is what we have to define and call it. And once we have the data, we have to simply store the data. So we'll call set all shipment data, and in that we have to pass all the data. And remember that this data will get in the form of array, and it will set in our state variable. So it becomes very easy for us to render, and that's why I mentioned in the last video that it's always very important that you have to rearrange the data, you have to format the data before you actually render in front end, and we have done already in the last video. So that's why it's pretty easy for us to set the data, and that's what we're going to return it. So that's the first use state we have. Now we're going to simply close this one, and we're going to return this, and now we can start writing the JSX. So we'll say return, and in this we're going to take this code block, main block, and inside that we're going to define all the component. So the very first component we have the services, and that we will have all the services this particular dApp provide. So that's the component we're going to import, and that we're going to pass the data, the props. So first thing we're going to pass is set open profile. That's the first props we'll pass. The second props will pass this complete model, set complete model. That's the second one. Get model, set get model props, and the last one is going to be start model props. And these are the props we are sending in services section. So that looks fine. Now this is the first component we have. Now let's take the second one. We have table component, and that we have to pass the props. So this will have the data set create shipment model. That's the props we'll pass, and we have to also pass the all data, all shipment data, and these are the two props we have to pass. Now let's take the fourth one, the form, and in that we have to take this create shipment, and in that we have to pass this props. We have to pass this function create shipment form. We'll pass this set create shipment model, and these are the props we are sending. Now let's come to the profile component. We'll say open profile. That's the prop we have to send. Now we have to set open profile, and we'll say user, current user, and we'll have the get shipment counts, and these are the profile component. Now let's come here. We're going to take this complete shipment component, and that we have to pass the complete model. We'll pass the set complete model. We'll pass the complete shipment, and we have to simply close this one. So this is the complete shipment model we have. Now we'll come here. We'll take this get shipment. We'll take this get model. We have this set models. We have the get shipment, and we have this one. That looks pretty fine. Let's take the last one. Is going to be a start shipment. Will be have this start model, and we'll have the start model. Both are the one we are taking. Now we'll take this start shipment, and that's the start shipment model we have, and that's what we're going to close it. So this is the entire code we have written, and now we have to simply export this one. So this looks pretty fine to me. You can see we have written the entire code for our index. All we have to do is to build the component, and will reflect in our front end. So this is the import we have done. This is the context we have. You can see we have all the components working fine. We have navbar, services, table, form, profile, complete shipment, get shipment, start shipment, and footer. So let's start with the navigation bar first. So here we are in the navbar component, and now we have to import couple of things from React. So let's say import use effect, use state, and use context, and that's coming from React. Now we have to import the tracking context, and that's coming from the tracking context. And now we have to import the icons, and that's coming from the component index. Now we have to export the entire component. Default export we are using. You can use a functional based component, but I'm going with this approach. So we'll say we'll take this const set and set state. We'll take this false. Now we're going to take this variable, so we have to import the data from our context. So we'll take this user, we'll take this connect wallet, and that's coming from our context. So that looks fine. These are the data we have. Now we're going to write the navigation bar. So we're going to define in the form of object. So we'll say navigation. Let's define an array. Inside that we have the objects. We'll say title, home, and path. This. Let's do the other services. We'll have this will be called contact us. This will be the ERC20, and that's the navigation we have. You can add whatever you want. It's totally up to you. So this is the navigation we have. Now we have to take this use effect, and inside that we have to take this document on click E, because we have to open the nav and close the nav. That's what we have to do, because we're going to have two different navigation, one for mobile and one for the desktop. So we'll say contracts target e dot target, we'll say if target dot close, then we have to call this class. So basically I'm using a Tailwind CSS classes here, and that's what approach I have taken. Make sure to you have to take the same approach, and we'll set state is going to be a false, and that's it. Okay, so here I'm targeting based on the class and then changing the state. So hope so hope you guys understood that what we have done. First we are running this use hook, calling on the document on click and getting the target, and we are simply looking for this closest one, and whatever we find closes this class, we have to change the state to false. That's simple. We're going to take this return and we're going to write the entire JSX. So let's write it very quickly. So we're going to take this navbar. Inside the navbar we're going to take this class names, and we're going to define all the classes. So we'll have the background white, padding bottom 5, and on the medium devices we'll have this text small, and here we're going to add a dynamic classes. So we'll take this template literal and we'll say if state is true, then we have to add this shadow class, shadow large, rounded XL, border mx2, mt2. Mt basically is stop, x is mx is the right and left. Okay, so hope you guys not get confused about these classes, and if you really want to know about all the classes which I'm utilizing for styling, make sure to check the Tailwind CSS documentation. Simply paste the name and you will know that what we are typing and what it does. Let's take on the media screen we have to define the shadows none, border none, and we have mx2 and md top 0. So that looks fine. Now else we have to say nothing. So this is our dynamic classes. Close this one. Now we have to take a div. It will have the class, we'll have gap XL 14, we'll have item center, we'll have max width screen, XL or MX auto, padding X4. On medium devices we'll have flex, padding X8, and we'll take another div. Inside that it will have a class called flex item center, justify between, padding Y5. On the medium device we'll say block. We'll take another anchor tag. We have to define the href attribute. I'm going with this normal JavaScript valid operator. You can type this one or you can type normal hash, both will work in the same way. So let's come here. We have to define the image, so it's going to be our logo. So here we're going to take this logo. So this is the logo which I found in one of the components, so that's the same logo. I'm going to import it, or you can design your own personal logo here. So this is coming from floated UI logo CSV file, and we have to define the width and we have to define the height as well, 50. We have to simply define the alt class float UI logo, and we have to simply close this one and close this one, and we're going to take another div. It will have a class, and the classes will take on the medium devices. We're going to hide this particular div we are creating on the medium devices. We're going to hide that one. So we're going to take another button. We're going to take a button, and it will have the class. We'll have the class called menu button, and this is the class we have targeted above. We have taken that document on close and the class we have given. That's what we are targeting. Text gray 500, and this 500 you can able to find in the Tailwind CSS. Again, I'm telling you that once you build this component, go and simply copy this entire classes and paste and check that what property they have applied into this classes. That will be really helpful for you, and you guys can able to remember this. Why I'm able to remember this, because on my other screen I have the entire design, and I'm simply looking at the design so I can know that these are the classes I have to apply. I have to add an over effect, so it will have text gray 800. We'll have the on click functions, and in that we're going to call this function set state, and we have to change it. So that's the button we have, and that we have to display the text. So it's basically we have to display the icon. So we'll say state nav1, else we have to do the nav2. So if it's true, then we have to display the nav1. If it's false, then we have to display the nav2. That's so simple. It's basically an icon. and we're going to close this one button, and we're going to close this div. We're going to close this one as well. Now take a div, it will have a class, and we have to take this dynamic block, because here we're going to add a classes based on certain conditions. So we'll have the normal class flex1 item center, margin top 8, on the medium devices margin 0, medium flex, and this is the dynamic class. We'll say that if state is true, if his state is true, then we have to add this class block, else we have to type this hidden class. Looks fine to me. Close this one, and now we have to take a UL, because we have to display the list menu. It will have a class called justify center item center space y6 on the medium devices flex, and space 6 and space y0. We'll take this navigation, and we're going to simply loop over it, and we're going to take this return, and we have to return this entire items. So we'll take this li, we'll have to assign a key, otherwise React will throw us the warning, and it will have a classes called text gray 700 over effect text gray 900. That's the li, and we have to take this anchor, and then we have to simply provide the path and the class block. So in that we have to provide the data, so item title, and that's the only thing we have to do. Simply close this one. So that's the li, and it will render the entire li document. That looks pretty fine. Come here, we have to simply close the return, and we have to close the dynamic block, and we have to close this ULI as well. Looks fine to me. So hope this entire thing making sense to all of you guys. You guys understand that what we are doing exactly here. Now come here, we're going to take another div. It will have a class called flex1 gap 6 item center justify end margin top space y6 on the medium devices flex space y0 medium top 0. That's the classes for the div. And now we're going to take this current user, and this is going to be a dynamic one. So if the user is connected with the wallet, we have to display. If the user is not connected with the dApp, our application, in that scenario we have to display the connect wallet function, the button, and if the user is connected, we have to display his address. So that's why we are taking this dynamic block. So we'll say current user, and we'll say if there is no data, if there is a current user exists, then we have to display his address. So we'll take this class, and we'll say flex item center justify item center gap x1 padding y2 padding x4 and text white font medium bg gray over effect we have to change this to 7 and active rounded full, and the medium devices inline flex. So all of these classes we have, and in that we have to simply display the current user, and we have to slide this down, because if you want to display the entire address is pretty huge and it will take a lot of places. So it's always better that you have to slice it down to 20 characters or 25 characters. It's totally up to you. So my UI is totally working fine with the 25 characters. That's why I'm going with this 25. And we're gonna simply close that this way, and now we have to other dynamic. If the user address is not exist, then we have to display this button, and this button will have the on click function, and on click function we're going to call this connect wallet function. We already have built the functionality, so we have to simply call this function, and we'll have a class called flex item center justify content gap 1 padding y2 padding x4 text white font medium bg gray 800, and over effect we're going to add this activities. The same classes you have to apply: rounded full and in medium devices inline flex. Now we have to simply close this one, and inside the text we have to write, let's say, connect wallet, and we're going to provide this snap bar 3 icon, actually an arrow. That's what we are going to define it. So that looks fine to me, and close the button. So this is our button component we have. Close this dynamic block. Let's close this div, and close this one, close this one, close this navigation bar, and that's look good. So you can see this is the entire code we have written for our navigation bar. Hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. And now let's test this out, that whether it's working or not. So let's have a quick look, that are we missing anything or not. So this looks pretty fine. You can see everything's working fine. Now click on this, and we're going to write on the other component. Let's check this out. We have beautifully designed our navigation bar. We have the logo, we have the menu items, and this is the button we have created for connect wallet function. Everything's working fine, and the moment I will click on this connect wallet function, it will open this MetaMask, because we have already built the functionality, and all we have to do is to type the password. So let me do it very quickly, and let's click on this unlock, and here you can see we have this address. So all the logic we have built is absolutely working fine. If I do the inspect element, it's 100% responsive for all the devices. You can see everything's looking fine. It's very responsive. You can see everything's working fine. So hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you. Now let me make a big screen, and let's start working on the other components. So this is where we left. Now simply come here, go back to the footer, because this is the one we have to work on it. Now let me start working on the JSX part. So from this component, I'm going to work a little faster, okay, because we have to build the front end. So I'll go a little faster. So if you guys find that I'm going a little faster, then you can simply do the adjustment in the speed in the YouTube settings. So click on that and make it slow or faster if you think I'm going slow. To import the component from React, we have to import the icons, okay, footer icons, and that's coming from the component index. So now we have to say export default, and we have to write the entire JSX. So we'll say const footer, define the menu for the footers. So it's going to be an object type. So let's say href java. So this is the link. We'll take the name. So let me write down very quickly. So the second one is going to be the name is going to be something like, give whatever name you want, license. Close this one, href. We'll take the name is going to be a privacy. We'll take the name about us, and that's the entire menu we have for our navigation bar for the footer. So let's close that one, and we have to return, and let's write the JSX for the footer. So what are we going to do? We're going to take this footer tag, and we will have this class. Let's assign the classes. So padding top is going to be 10, so we'll have some space from the top, and we'll have this div. It will have a class called max width screen XL, max auto, padding Y, padding X4, text gray 600. On the medium devices, padding X is going to be 8. Inside that, we're going to take another div. It will have a classes called justify between. On the small screen, we will have this flex, and we'll have another div. It will have a classes called space Y6. Inside that, we're going to have this image for our logo, footer logo, and it's going to have this. I'm going to provide the same image logo, and it will have a class called width 32. Looks good. And now we have to define the text for the application. So we'll take this p, and we'll have a class max width medium, and we'll say type this text. So let me type it very quickly. So that's the text for our div. You can type whatever you want. Let's come here. We're going to take this UL, and in that we're going to display our footer navigation. So we'll take this class. We'll say flex wrap item center gap for text small on a small devices text basis. It will have the footer nav, and we're going to loop over it item index. It will have a li class name text gray 800 over text gray 500, duration 150. We'll have the anchor. It will have a key. It will have a href item href, and in this we're going to define simply the items. So items name, and that's our footer navigation. Simply close this one. We'll close this li as well. and we have to close this as well. And now we have to close the UL. So that's the entire footer navigation component we have. So this looks pretty fine. Now close the div. Take a div. It will have a class called margin top is going to be 6, and this one is going to be for the copyright, and that will say class will text gray 7 font semi bold, and will say get app. And actually we're going to display, before we display the copyright, we have to display the icons. Okay, so those app installation icons we have. So we'll take this div. It will have a class called flex item center, gap 3, margin top 3. On the small screen we'll have the block. Inside that we're going to take this anchor and we'll apply the href to this, and in that we're going to define the footer 1 icon, and we're going to close this one, and we have to display the other icon as well. It will have a class margin 0, block, and margin top on 3 in the small screens, and we'll say footer 2. And that's the 2 icons we have in the footer. Now we have to close the div, and we have to close the div. Come here, we have to close the div. Now we're going to take a div. It will have a class. We'll say margin top 10, padding y 10, border top. On the medium devices we'll have the text center, and in this we're going to define the p tag, and we're going to display the copyright. Okay, all $100 all right reserve, and we have to simply close this one, close this one footer, and we are done with this. So hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. These are the pretty simple things we have done, and we are repeating same classes to make the stylings happen. Okay, so hope this entire thing making sense. If you guys have any forgot to add anything, or you have written something wrong, make sure to rewatch that. So let's come here and close this one, open this one, and let's have a look before we write the code in other components. Footer is looking absolutely fine. We have the logo, we have the text, we have the list item, this is the copyright section, and this is the icons we have defined. It's 100% responsive in the mobile device as well. You can see it's looking fine, and I think something's wrong in this drop down menu. We'll check that what is the problem. Just for the time being, let's go like this. So this is looking absolutely fine. It's responsive. The only thing we have to work on this, something is wrong, so we'll see what's the matter in that. Let's work in other component. So now we're going to work on the services component. So let's come back, let's come here. We're going to work on the, let's come on which one we should work. This is the service component we have, and click on this. What we have to do is to import the images. So these images will be provided to you already in the starter file, so make sure to get it from the websites if you haven't got the starter file. So we have to import the images, and now we have to import the image tag, this coming from the Next.js. Now we have to export default, and this is the only component we are exporting from here, so that's why I'm going with this approach. So let's say set open profile, all the props we have sent. So I believe that you have watched the index page configuration, and that we have sent a lot of props in our service component. So that's the prop we are receiving here. So the way, this is the first prop we have, set open profile. The second props we have is set complete model. Third one we have set get model, set start model, and these are the props we have sent into the components. And now we have to simply take this const, and we're going to take the team, because we're going to provide couple of services. Altogether we're going to provide 6 services. So you can go with a normal approach, but here I'm going with this services approach. In that I'm taking an array, and in that I'm going to take all the services. So let's define an object. We'll say avatar, the image of the service, because this image is coming from the images. Okay, so that's the one which I'm taking. You can pass multiple data, but for the simplicity I'm going with a simple approach. Okay, so that's the first avatar. I have to write close to 6, so let me write it down very quickly. So this is image, we have get shipment. The second one we have this, third one we have avatar, image, this called start shipment, and we have avatar, image, this is called user profile. All of these images are provided to you, so you can get it. Okay, we'll have this ship count. Now we have the image send, and these are the data we have taken. Pretty simple, not that complicated. So these are the items we have. Now we have to take this one, open model item. So we have multiple boxes in the services component and we have to open it that. So this is the approach I'm going to take. I'm going to take a if else state approach, and on the base of the click event the user is clicking on that particular service, I have to open that particular model box, the component. So that's the approach I'm taking. There is a multiple way you can do that, but this is the simplest approach I have taken. And this I have to write less code. So this function will receive the text. So let's write it down. So first thing we have to do is build the statement. So if text is equal to 1, in that context we have to call this, we have to open this particular model, set complete model, because that is on the index 1 positions, and we have to set it to true. Else we have to say if text is 2, then we have to open this particular model, set get model true. Else if text is equal to 3, we have to open this particular model, set start model true. Else if text is equal to 4, in that context we have to open this model, set profile, open profile true. And that looks pretty fine. Okay, so this is the simplest function. On the click event we will get the text and the value, and based on that we are opening that particular model. And that's the simplest approach. You can make it more complex by creating a single function for each one of the model, but that's too much work. So we are done with that, and now we're going to write the J6 for the entire service component. So we'll say return, and we'll take this service section, and we will have a class padding y0, padding bottom 14. We'll have this div, it will have a class max w screen xl, max auto, padding xy, on the medium devices padding 8. We'll have the div, it will have the class name margin top 12 sorry 12. I know I'm going a little faster, that's why I'm making this silly sound mistake. I hope you guys can bear that for me. So that's the component we have. Now we have to take this UL, it will have a class grade gap 18. On a small device we'll have this grid column 2, medium device will have a grid column 3. We'll take this team and we're going to simply map over it, so we're going to loop over it. So items I, inside that we're going to take the li, it will have a key, and it will have the div. This div will have the onClick function, and on the onClick function, the function we have built above, that's what we're going to assign it. So we'll say open model box I+1, so it will start from 1, because like the index will start from 0, so that's why I'm adding 1. So it will start 1 2 3 4 and goes like that. So that's the data we are passing. Now we're going to say class width full, height 60. On a small device we want to make it height to 52. On the medium device the height is going to be 56, and we'll close that one. Inside the div we'll take this image tag and we'll have the images inside the item, so that's what we're going to display. So we'll say source item is going to be avatar. We have to do one thing, and here we're going to find the classes. We'll say width full, height full, object cover, object center, shadow add medium, around XL. These are the classes for the images. We'll say alt is going to be an empty, you can type whatever you want, and that's the image closed. Now we have to close the div as well. We have to close li, and we have to simply close the dynamic block and the UL as well. Close the div, and close the section, and that's the entire component we have written. Okay, pretty simple, not that many code. We have used the components, rendered the items with all the components functionality, so you can see everything is working fine. Now come here, click on this, and now let's test this out. It's looking absolutely perfect. So this is the services component we have. You can see it's 100% responsive. So this is the navigation, this is the service component. If I do the inspect element, it's 100% responsive. You can see it looks absolutely incredible. It's working like a bread and butter. Okay, it's looking absolutely fine. And if you can see, if I click on this complete model, it will open the form. Okay, it's not working because we haven't worked on the functionality, but it will work absolutely fine when we'll build those component. Okay, we are already connected. If I want to log out from this app, this will also working fine. So let me log out once. So I'll come here, I'll click on this log out, and I'll reload the browser, and here we have the functions. So everything is working fine. Now let's start working on the other component, which is the table component. To the come to the table section. Let's create the export default, and in that we have to receive the props we have sent. So this is the props we're going to receive. First one is set create shipment model, all items, all shipment, okay, all the data which we're going to pass inside this table component, and that's the export default. Now we're going to take this state variable, sorry, const, and in that we're going to take the data. So it will come convert time. So basically what will happen that when we'll get the data from the contract, it will come in the form of timestamp. So we have to convert the timestamp into the readable data so user can understand. Okay, so that's the function we're going to build, convert time. So we'll pass the time into this, and we'll say const new time, and we're going to use this function, JavaScript function new date, and that we're going to pass the timestamp, and we have to do the configuration. We'll say date time, and we'll say new in Intel date time format, and it's going to be in English, US English, and we'll take the year, the numeric, and we'll take the month, we'll take the day, and we're going to simply call the format new time, and we're going to simply return the date time. So that's a pretty simple function, normal JavaScript, nothing related to the smart contract and the DApp development. Okay, we are getting the data in the timestamp, and we are simply converting into the year, month, and date, and that's what we are returning. Looks fine. Come here, and we have to take a console log this all shipment data. All shipment data. Now we're going to write the JSX for the table. So this one is going to be a pretty big one because we have to build the table. So and we have to stylish as well. So it's going to be a biggest component in our DApp. So we'll take this div. It will have a class called max width screen, Excel, max auto, padding x4. On the medium devices we'll have padding 8. We'll take this div. It will have a class called items start, justify between. On the medium devices we'll have the flex. We'll take a div. It will have a class called max wl. We'll take the h3 tag, and it's going to be a heading. So it will have a class. It will say text gray 800, text excel, font bold, and on the small screen we're going to have this text 2x create tracking. We'll close this one, and we're going to take this p tag, and we'll display short information about this tracking. It will have a class. We'll say text gray 6, and margin top is going to be 2, and in that we will write this demi text. You can type whatever you want. So that's the text we have. Close this one. Now we'll take another div. It will have a class. We'll say margin top is going to be 3. On the medium device margin top is going to be 0. Inside that we'll take a p tag, and inside that we're going to add this on click function. We'll say set create shipment model true. So this will open the model, and here we're going to say href. We don't need to redirect anywhere else. We have to assign a classes inline block, padding x4, padding y2, text white, duration 150, font medium, and background is going to be gray 800, and over effect we're going to add this 700, and we're going to set the active state to 9, and text small, and it's going to be a round large, and it will have an inline flex. So all of these classes we have included, and we're going to simply close, and in that we're going to type this add track. So when someone will click on this, it will open the form element and they can fill out the details and they can create the shipment. And that's why we have added this model functions, set create shipment model. So that looks fine. Now come here, we're going to simply close this one. We'll close this div, close this one, and now we have to write a classes. We'll take another div. It will have a class called margin top 12, shadow, border large, overflow x auto. It will have a table class, full width, table auto, table small, table left, text left, sorry, don't table. We'll have this head. We'll have a class name bg gray for 50, text gray 600, font medium, border b. We'll have this tr. It will have the tr class name, padding y3, padding 6, sender, and we have to repeat this couple of times. So let me do it very quickly. The same classes we have to apply, so let me write it very quickly. So simply close this one. So hope you have built all of these components. So we are defining the header of our tables. So that looks fine. Come here. Now we have to simply close the head. We'll come down here. We're going to take the body, table body, and we'll define a classes. We'll take this text gray 600 divided y, and we're going to take the data. So we have all the data into our all shipment, and we're going to simply loop over it. And the reason we have provided this question mark, because sometime the data will come late, and at that time you will get undefined. So if you don't provide these question marks, you will get error. So it's always better to add a guard class in your data. So that's why I have taken this question mark, and we're going to simply loop over it. We'll say shipment and index, and here what I'm going to do is I'm going to define the tr. It will have a key, index, and inside that we're going to take this table body and we'll add these classes, padding x6, padding y4, white space, unwrap, no wrap, and in that we're going to simply display the data. And this will be the sender message, and we are slicing it down to 15 characters, and we have to simply close that one. So this is the first table body. Now we have to take another one for the receiver. We have add the same classes, and in that we have to take the address which we have inside the shipment receiver and slice it down to 15. Now we have to close it. Take another table body. It will have padding 6, padding 4, white space, same classes we have to apply, and now we have to display the data. So in this we're going to display the pickup time, and that's why. So let's come here. We'll take this table body. We're gonna take this table body classes. Now we have to take the same classes very quickly. We'll display the data, distance in kilometer. Close this one. We'll take another table body. It will have the same classes. We'll display the price, and this time we don't need to convert the price in ether, because the data we have formatted in our context, we have already converted it into ether, not in way. And that's the best part, when you convert the data right when you fetch it from the contract and export in the entire dApp. Close this one. Take another table body. We define the classes. Display the delivery time. Table body. Take another one. Define the shipment is paid. If it's paid is true, then we have to say complete, but if it's not true, false, then we have to say not complete. Simple if else statement we have written. Close this one and click another one. It will have the same classes, and right now you can see that I'm repeating these components, this body tag over and over again, but you can take it in a array format. You can simply rendering by looping over it, but for the simplicity, for making you understand, that's why I'm going with this approach. Otherwise I can make it in more complex way, and that would help me to write less code. Let's write the status whether it's completed. So if the index of the status, because you know that in the smart contract we have defined 3 different status: the pending, in transmit, and deliver, and each one have the index. Okay, if it's 0, that means we are in the pending mode, but if it's 1, then we are in the in transit mode. If its shipment status is 1, then we are in the transferring mode, means the product is in deliver for ready for deliver, and the final is going to be the deliver one if the index is 2, status is 2. Okay, hope these things make sense, and we're gonna simply close this one. We have to close this entire table. We have to close this dynamic block, and we have to close the table body as well, table tab as well, and table div, and close all the divs. And that's the pretty much. You can see everything's working fine. It's absolutely beautiful. No more error we have. Simply come here, and if you guys have missed something, make sure to rewatch it. Now it's time to check this out, whether we have built the template or we have got any error. You can see it's reloading the browser, and if I scroll down, and it looks absolutely stunning. So we have this title, we have the data, and we have our table, header tables, and right now we don't have any, we haven't created any tracking data. That's why you can see it's totally empty. If you click here, you can see nothing will happen because we haven't wrote the functionality for that, but everything's working fine. Now we're going to work on the form component, and we're going to create couple of tracking product tracking. Okay, so let's come back to the VS and let's start working on the form component. This one, and this time we're going to start working on the form. And here we are. We have to import couple of things from React. So use state, and that's coming from React, and now we have to simply export default, and we have to receive the props. So we'll take this set current shipment model, we'll take this create shipment model, we'll take the create shipment functions, and now we're going to define the data type. So we'll take the const, we'll take a use state, and we'll take this shipment and set shipment. Initially is going to be in form of object, okay, because we're going to take couple of data from the user like address, timestamps, all of these things. So that's why we have taken the data in a state variable, and I'm taking this data in the form of object because when we are receiving this data in our context function for creating a shipment, we are taking in form of objects. That's why I have taken this approach. Let's define all of those fields which we're going to create. So we need the receiver, we need the pickup time, we need the distance, we need the price, and that's the 4 data we need for creating the shipment. We'll come here, we're going to take this const create item, and it's going to be async function, and in that we're going to simply call the function. So we have to take this try and catch block because sometimes things goes wrong, so we have to catch that, and we don't want our application got crash. So in this we're going to simply take this await create shipment because this is the function we have built in our context, and in that we're going to pass the entire shipment items. So we'll say shipment entire object, and we'll simply take this catch error. If anything goes wrong, we have to simply console log out the error message, and that's pretty much looks fine. Now we have to simply write the JSX in which we have to take the input fields, and we have to define the entire layout of our form component. So let's write the JSX part. We'll say create shipment. So this is the approach we are taking. So we'll say create shipment. So what we are doing here, we are saying that if create shipment model is true, then only we have to display the component, otherwise we don't want to display anything. So that's why I'm taking this approach. There is multiple way you can tackle this, but this is the simplest way and the easiest way. So let's have a div. It will have a class called flexed. It will have the inset 0. It will have the z index 10 overflow y auto. This will cover the entire screen. That's why we have used the fixed. Inset 0, that will cover the entire screen, and then index is going to be top, and flex y is going to be auto. So we have to take another div. It will have the class called flexed inset 0 with full, height full, bg is going to be a black, opacity 40. It will have a on click functions, so it will say set current shipment model is to false, because this will open, so it will become true. So we have to, if someone click on that, we have to make it false. And that's what we have. Now we have to simply close this one. We'll take a div. It will have a class flex item center. It will say mean height screen, padding x4, padding y8. And we'll take the div. It will have a class called relative, width full, max w large, padding 4, max auto, background white, and rounded medium, shadow large. And we'll have another div. It will have a class called flex justify end. It will have that button, and in this button we're going to simply display the icon, close icon. So we'll say class pd2, text gray 400, rounded medium, over effect we'll say background gray 100. And we'll take this on click function, and we'll say set create shipment model to false. That looks good. Now we have to take this svg file. So this CSV file will be provided to you in the startup file. So all you have to do is to import the component, and you can display that. But I'm going to write it very quickly because I forgot to import it. So we'll say XML, we have to provide this. So let me write the entire icon, because this icon is already given to you. And this icon is already provided to you. Again, I'm telling you in the CSV folder. I'll show you which one it is, so you guys can import it instead of writing that one. Okay, so that looks pretty fine. These are the entire CSV. Let me close this one and close the button. We can come here, close the div. We have to take a div, and now we have to define the entire body for our cover component. So we'll take a class. It will have a max w sm, max auto, padding y3, space y3, text center. We'll have a h4. It will have a class called text large, font medium, text gray 800. We'll have this track product create shipment. Close this h4 tag. Take this p. It will have a class text 150 pixels, text gray 600. It will have the text, the short description. Close this one. Take a form component, form tag, and we'll have an on submit function, and on that we have to first stop the default behavior of the form. And this is how we can do that. We say e.prevent default. So this will stop the default behavior for submitting the form. And once we stop the default behavior, now we have to take a div. It will have a class. We'll say relative margin top 3, and in that we have to take a input field. So altogether we're going to have 4 input fields, because we are taking 4 data from the user. So type is going to be text. It will have the placeholder. We'll say receiver. It will have the class name, full width, padding left 5, padding right 3, padding y2, gray 500, bg transparent, outline none, border focus border, indigo 600, shadow sm, and rounded large. So these are the classes. we have it now. It will have on click function, sorry, on change function, and on the on change function, and it will have a on change property. So whenever someone will pipe anything into the input field, or the user will provide the address of the receiver, we're going to simply update that. That's why we have taken this on change. So we're going to take this our set shipping state, and we're going to simply update that. So we'll deconstruct the entire, so we'll say dot 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 shipment, and we're going to target the specific object we want to update. So this is what we want to accept, receiver, and we'll say e.target.value. So that's how we can update that particular value in that object, and we're going to simply close that one. So that's the first input field we have. That's the first input field we have. Simply close that one and close the div. And that's the exact thing we have to do 4 times for all the components. So let me do it very quickly. The same variables we're going to provide it over and over again. So I'm just pausing my voice for a time, and you guys can type it very quickly. So I'm just pausing it and I'm typing very quickly so you guys can follow that. So this time you have noticed that the type is date, because we have to take the delivery time. Let's assign the classes. Now we have to simply update the data, the time, and the same way we're going to update it. Pickup time, and we have to update the value. Now we'll take another div, and we have to do the same thing, relative top 30. This time type is going to be text, and the rest would be the same. We have to change the function only, the object, the data we are updating. And we have to simply update that. Now we have to take the last one. And we have to simply update this one, price. Close the div, take a button, and this time we're going to submit this one. Okay, we're going to call this function create item. It will have a classes, block, full width, margin 3, and the rest classes is going to be the same which we have applied previously on the button. We'll close the button. Create shipment. Close the button. Form. Close the div. Close the div. Close the div. And the final one is, that's it, empty. So if our model is true, then we have to display, otherwise we don't want to display anything. And that looks pretty fine. And that's the entire form component we have written. Hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. Now come here and let's test this out. And you can see everything's working fine. Reload the browser, and now let's test this out. So if we click on this, the form component will open. So click on this, and here you can see it looks absolutely beautiful. So we have the title, we have the text message, we have this form, we have the date, and we have the distance, we have the price, and this is the one we have. And it's also working fine. So let's create and we have already built the functionality, so we can create the tracking, add the product. So first thing, we have to connect the wallet, and just a moment, and here I have to pass my credential. Unlock. So here we have unlocked the credentials, we have connected to the wallet. Now we can say, before we make the transaction, we have to clear all the history, otherwise we'll get an error. So it'll come here, go back to the settings, into the advanced, come here, click on this clear activities tab, data, and that looks pretty fine. Reload the browser, and that looks pretty fine. Click on this add tracking. Here we have the pop-up. So what I will do, I'll come here, go to this one, click on the MetaMask, click on this, copy one, click on this, and now I can make the transaction. So simply pass the address of the recipient. So this is the address. Let me pick up the date. So this is the data I'm going to pick. The distance is going to be, let's say 256, whatever you can type. The price is going to be up to you, 45, and you can click on this create shipment. And here the MetaMask is open, and you can see the thing. You can see 45 Ether we are charging for the shipments, and you can click on this confirm, and the transaction is confirmed. If I scroll down here, and here you will find the data. You can see the table component is also working fine. We have fetched the information about the transaction. So this is the sender, this is the receiver, this is the pickup time, and this is the distance. And we have, you can see the time we have converted into a readable time, so we are displaying here. And this is the delivery state. So right now the delivery is not done, that's why it's saying 0. But once the delivery will get completed, you will find the time will say here, the paid is not completed yet and pending. So it's also working fine. If you can come here, you can create more. So you can create here, you can pick any the date. So I'll go with simply 15. Distance is going to be 45.6, whatever you type. And this time I will take 23, create a shipment, and you can simply click on this. So just wait, confirm, and the transaction went through, and here you will have the data. So everything is working fine, all the logic we have built. Now we have to work on these components: complete shipment, get shipment, start shipment, and user profile. And these are the optional. You can add more functionality to this, but I'll leave the options for you to come and do the experiment. But let's write all of these 4 components which is left. Come back to the VS. In our VS Code Studio, you can see everything is working fine. Now what we have to do is we have to work on this complete shipment. So before we work on the complete shipment, we have to work on start shipment, because once the shipment will start, then we have to complete it. Okay, that's the logic, that's the simple logic. So come here, get start. Everything is working fine. We can able to render the data into our table component. We can create a shipment. Now we have to work on the component for getting shipment data. Okay, so click on this get shipment, and we have to import couple of things from React use state. And now we have to create this component default, export default, and in that we have to receive the prop. So we need get model, set get model, and get shipment, because this get shipment will have all the data about that particular shipment. So we'll take this const, we'll take this index, because we have to find the shipment based on the index, because every single shipment will have a unique ID, and we are doing on the base of index. You can assign a particular ID, or you can assign a particular user ID or user data, which you can take from the user. Okay, so we'll say use state, initially it will be 0. We're going to take this another one, we'll say single shipment data, and set single shipment data. It's going to be use state. So or one single shipment we're going to store, because this shipment is a function. When we'll call that, it will give us an array, and we're going to simply take the data from here and we're going to assign it into this. So just follow along with me. So we'll take this const get shipment data, and we're going to call this async function because we are dealing with the synchronous behavior. We'll add this const get shipment data, and we'll say await get shipment. In that we have to pass the index, so it will return us the data of that particular shipment, and all we have to do is to set the data into our set single shipment data. That's pretty simple, and we have to simply console log out the data, and that's the only thing we have to do. So we'll simply console log out the entire single shipment data. That looks good. Now we'll come here, we'll take a variable called cost convert time, because we have to convert the time into a readable format, because the time will come in form of timestamp. So let's write the simple function convert time, new time, and we're going to follow the same logic we have done previously. So let me write it down very quickly. You can do one thing, you can create a utility function and you can simply import it that, but I forgot to do that. That's why I'm writing this code again. But in the real world, what will happen that you're going to convert these kind of function which you are utilizing in your dApp over and over again into a utility function. So let's return that date, and that's the convert time function we have. Looks fine. Come here, we're going to take this return, and now we're going to write the entire J6 for our tab for this component. So we'll say get model, the same approach we are taking. If it's true, then we have to display the component, otherwise we have to hide the component. We'll take a div, it will have a class flex insert 0 z index tens overflow y auto. We'll take the div, it will have a class name fix insert 0 full width full height background black opacity 40. It will have a on click function, we'll say set get model false, and we have to close this one. We'll take this div, it will have a class called flex item center, min height screen, padding x4, padding y8. It will have another div, it will have a class called relative, full width, max w large, padding 4, max auto, background white, rounded, shadow large. It will have a div, it will have a class called flex justify end. It will have a button. It will have a class name padding 2, text gray 400, rounded MDM, overflow background gray 100 sorry. It will have a on click functions called set get model false, and we have to type our text. Actually in the text we're going to type the CSV file. So let me show you that which CSV file I'm telling you, okay, because my extension is on, that's why I'm not able to import the component. So what I will do, I'll show you that which CSV file I'm importing writing here. So you can see that this is the component in which we have all of this component. If I open the CSV file, here you will find this is the footer icons we have, this is the navbar icon we have, and this is the exact CSV icon we are typing manually. So my extension is on, that's why I'm not able to stop it and simply import it. But in your course you can simply import this CSV component and you can have it, okay. But in my case my extension is on, that's why I'm not able to do that, so I have to type it. So we have to close this one, we have to close the CSV file, and that's the entire icon we have. We're going to close this button as well. Come here, we're going to take this div, close this div. We're going to take a div, it will have a class called max width small, max auto, padding y3 space y3 text center. It will have a h4, and that we have to display the classes. So we'll have this text large, font medium, text gray 800. Inside that we have to type our text, so we'll type product details, tracking details, and we're going to simply close this h4. We'll come here, we'll take this form, and it will have a on submit, the same approach we are taking, which we have taken in the last component. So that's why I'm going a little faster here. So it will have a relative margin top 3. It will have an input tag because we need to take the number. So we'll take this type is going to be a number because we have to take the index of that particular product details. Let's provide all of these data very quickly. It will have a classes called full width, padding left 4, padding right 3, padding y2, text gray 500, background transparent, outline none, border focus border inline 16, shadow sm, rounded. So many things we have to add. Now we'll have a on change function, and we have to simply take this index and we have to update that. So that's the div we have to close it up. We'll come here, we'll take a button, and we have to take this on click function, and we're going to simply call the function get shipment data, and we have to take the classes block full width, margin 3, y, x 4, medium, text small, text center, text white, bg indigo 600, overflow we have 500, active indigo 7, round large, ring offset 2, ring indigo 600, focus ring 2. So these are the classes we have, quite unique one, and we have to type our text. So in this we're going to type it something like get details, because that's what it will give us. Close the button. This is the entire button component. Now we're going to we're going to close the form component, and now we're going to take a dynamic block, and that we're going to display the data of that particular product details. So that's all data we have inside this. So we'll say single shipment data. Inside that we'll take this, because if it's undefined then we have to come here and we have to simply don't need to display anything. But if there is a data, then we have to display the data, and that's how we can do it. That's pretty easy. So we're going to take this div, will have a class text left, and inside that we're going to take this p sender, and in that we're going to display the data of the sender. And the same thing we have to do here for all the data which we have done and which we have already done in the other component. So let me do it very quickly. We have to take the data of the pick time. We have to pass into a convert time function the timestamp. We have to take another div, p tag, and it will say deliver time, and we have to convert the time into a timestamp. We have to display the distance. We have to display the price and status. So this one is going to be dynamic. If the paid is true, then we have to say completed, but if it's not, then we have to say not completed. And we have to close it, and we have to close the div. We have to close our dynamic block, close the div, and close the div, close one, and close this one, and empty. So hope this entire thing makes sense to all of you guys. These are the things we have written for get shipments. Pretty simple component we have built, which will allow us to call the function to display the data. Now let's come here, and now let's test this out, because we have already created the product tracking 1 2, because now let's test this out, because we have already created the product. Let me reload the browser, and right now everything looks fine. You can able to create, and we have already created that. So this is the first tracking. It's on the index position. So this one is a 0 and this one is a 1. You can assign an ID to each one of these, but I'm not going with that approach. I'm taking a simpler approach. So this is the 0 and this is the 1. So the function we have to call is this function get. You have to click on this component, because in this component we have attached the function. So if I call this get shipment, so this will give us the data. So if I click on this, here you have the pop-up. If you click on this, it will not work because this is the component in which we have attached the function get shipment. So in this I have to pass the ID. So I can simply type 0. If I type 1, it will give me the 1. If you click on this, here you can see I got all of the data. I get the sender, I get the receiver, I get the pickup time, delivery distance, and you can see this is the exact distance we have. So let me scroll down here. This is the exact distance, the one we have assigned 456. But if you assign 0, it will give us the first one. You can see the data is changed 256. If you assign the first, it will change. So this one is also working fine, and this is the icon which is displaying. It's also looking fine, and this one is also working fine. Now we have 3 more components. So now we're going to start working on the start shipment, then we have to work on this, then we're going to work on that. So that looks fine. Let's come back to the VS and let's start working on the other component. So let's come here. Now come here and we have to go back, close this one, come to this, and we have to work on the start shipment. Click on this, and now we have to import a couple of things from React. So we'll use state, and that's coming from React. Now we have to import the icons. So start one, the cross icon, and that's coming from the index, and let's make it default export. And we have to receive the props. So start model, set start model, start shipment, the function, and here we're going to take this variable. We'll say get product and set product. It's gonna be an object, so in that we have to take the data about the particular product which we want to target, and we have to set that the deliveries got started, because that's what the functionality we are working on, start shipment. So we need the data for that particular product. So let's define that. We need the receiver when we need the index. So these are the 2 data we need for the product. Let's close this out. Come here, and here we have to simply take a variable. We'll say start shipment, and in that we're going to simply call the function. We'll pass the data into this start shipment, and we'll pass the product data, and we have to call it. That's it. And we have to simply build the entire JSX now. So we'll say start model. If it's true, then we want to display, otherwise we don't want to display. So let's build the JSX. We'll say div. It will have a class flexed instant. So the same classes we have to apply, because we want to have a black transparent one. This one is also going to be the same one. Full BG background opacity, and we'll have an on-click function, so it will turn to false. Okay, set start model will turn to false. Looks good. And we have to simply close the div. The same logic we are following for every pop-up model. Now come here. Here we have to take a div. It will have a class called flex item center, min height screen, padding x4, padding y8. Inside that we're going to take this div. It will have a class called relative, full width full, max width large, padding 4, mx auto, background white, rounded medium, shadow large. And inside that we're going to have this div. It will have a class called flex justify end. Inside that we're going to have this button, and it will have our class icon. So we'll say class p2 text gray 4, rounded medium, over effect we'll have this gray 100. It will have an on-click function. On the on-click function we have to set the start model to false, because we have to close the model, and we have to simply close this one button, and we have to simply call the icon. So this is the cross icon. In some component I forgot to import, and some component I have imported. So in whichever component I have forgot to import, make sure you have to replace the CSV code with this icon. It will work in the both same way, and all the code is provided. All the startup file is already provided to all of you guys, so you guys simply download that one from my website. We'll come here, we'll take this button, close this one, we'll close this div, and now we have to work on the body. So we'll say class max width small, max auto, padding y3, space y3, text center. It will have h4. We have to provide the headlines. The same classes we have to provide our headline, and we have to say start the shipping. We have to close the h4, and now we have to provide the same description. So now we have to take the form, and so now we have to define the form. So it will have a on submit. We have to stop the default behavior of the form. We'll say div class relative margin top 3. It will have the input, and the type is going to be, let's say, text. It will have the placeholder receiver. It will have the class name, full width, padding left 5, padding right 3, padding y 2, text gray 500, background transparent, outline none, border focus, border indigo 600, shadow sm, rounded, large. The same classes we have to apply in every single input field. Okay, so this time I'm going to write it very quickly. So we have to take the data and we have to update into our state variable for get product. So we'll set the set get product. We'll deconstruct the get product and we'll take the data we want to update. So we want to update the receiver address and we're going to set to value, and that looks fine. Looks pretty good. We have to close this one, close this one, close the div, and we have to take another div. We have to take the same input field, this time for the ID. So let me write it very quickly. And we have to update the data. So this time we have to update the indexed, which we have inside this. So we'll say index e.target.value and we'll have the data updated. And now we have to close this one, and we have to close the div, and now we have to take a button. It will have the on-click function. In that on-click function we have to call this function we have created, start shipping, and it will have the classes. So the same classes we have to apply for every single button. So let me do it very quickly. And you can think and you can do in more optimized way. So right now you can see that I'm using a lot of buttons in the DAV, and again and again I'm typing the button component and writing the classes. You can convert this button into a component and you can import the button and you can have it without applying these classes. So there's a multiple way which you can do, but I'm going for the simplest approach. I'm going like this, where I can show you that what are the classes exist in the Tailwind CSS, so you guys can get a practice. And the reason why I have taken this approach, because the more you write the same classes over and over again, you get memorized. So when you will build project like this, 2 to 3 projects, and after that everything will be set in your mind and you can be easily able to utilize it. That's the button we have. Now we have to say get details, close this one, and we have to close the form, close the div, close the div, close the div, close the div, and now we have to send this empty. And that's the entire component we have written. Everything's working fine. You can see we have built all of this component, all of this JSX, and looks fine. And that's the start shipment component we are done. Close this one, come here, and before we write any other component, let's test this out. The browser, things are looking fine, and we are already checked this position, get product details, and we have this one complete shipment. If you click on that, oh no, okay, this one start shipment. If you click on that, here you can see we have the pop-up. Okay, I forgot to change this one. It's not get details, it's a start shipment, but you can do it from your end. So in this we have to pass the receiver address and the ID. So let's do one thing. This is the one we're going to change the status, and this is the address we have to pass. So I'll click here, and I'll go back to the account number 2, because this is the account number 3 I want. Come back here and reload the browser. So you can see this is the account I'm connected. I click on this, I'll paste the address, This is the address, and I have to pass the ID. So I'll paste 0. I'll click on this get details, but you can change this to get shipping start. If you click on this, here we have open the MetaMask, and you can find that this is the contract we are interacting with. Click on this confirm, and the transaction went through. You can see the browser reload, that means the transaction went through. If you scroll down here, you can see the status is changed in transmit. So the entire logic is working fine. We have changed the status. So the product is out for delivering, and now we have to work on this complete shipment. So when we click on this complete shipment, so here we're going to update this data. Okay, these are the two data we're going to update. So things are looking fine, promising. We are done with this. You can type it and you can have the data looking fine. You can check this one and you can simply change the status. So now let's start working on this complete shipment component. So let's come here. We're going to click on this complete shipment. Click on this, and now we have to import a couple of things from React. So we'll say use state, and that's coming from React. We'll export the component. We'll have to receive the props we have sent. So complete model, set complete models. We have to get the complete shipment function, and we going to say complete shipment and set complete shipment, and it's going to be an object type because we have to take the data for completing the shipment. So in this, we're going to take the receiver address, and we have to take the address of the index. These are the two data we need for completing the shipment. Let's come here. Let's start build the functionality which will call. So we'll say change shipments, change status, and it's going to be async functions, and we have to call the function. So we'll say complete shipment. This is the function we have to call, and in that we have to pass the data in form of object, because that's the way we are receiving the data, and then we are deconstructing the data. So if you haven't watched the first part, make sure to watch it, because in that I have explained everything. Right now I'm just building the logic, and then I'm going to pass the data. Otherwise we have to do anything. And now we have to work on the entire JSX. So if it's true, then we have to display the component. Otherwise we don't want to display anything. So true, then we have to build this component. So we'll say div. It will have the classes, and the same thing we have to do. The same classes we have to apply here as well, because this is the pop-up model, and this is the overlay div. We have background opacity 40, and we're going to simply provide this on click function. In that we have to set this to false. The same logic we are following. Okay, so I hope by the time we are building this component, you guys got familiar with the classes, because we have already built 3-4 components and we have utilized the same classes over and over again. Now we have to take a div. It will have the classes flex, item center, min, height, screen. The same classes we have to apply. Let me write it very quickly. We'll take the div. It will have a class name, relative, full width, max WL large, padding 4, max auto, background white, random. Same classes I have to apply. Div will have a class flex, justify, end. It will have a button. So the close button we have to assign. So this time I forgot to import the close button, close icon component. So I have to type the entire CSV file here, but in your case the CSV file is provided to you. All you have to do is to import it, and you have to place it right inside the button. Let's add the classes. It will have on click function. We have to set to false. Inside that we have to take the CSV file, and this CSV file is already provided to you. Now we have to close the CSV. So that's the icon we have. Close the button, close the div, and now we have to start working on the body. So we'll take a div, and we have to assign the same classes we have assigned in other pop-up model. So let me do it very quickly. Now we'll take this h4, and we have to assign the same classes. You can see a lot of components we are repeating over and over again. So what you can do, you can convert these component into a you can convert these divs, these blocks, into a component, and you can utilize it. But I want the but I'm going with this approach. So let's provide this h4 complete shipment, and we'll have this one. Let's take a form, and that we have to stop the default behavior, and we have to take the div. It will have a class relative top 3. It will have an input, and the same input classes we have to assign. So let me assign it very quickly. Or you can do one thing, you can simply copy paste from other components if you don't like to write, but make sure to change the data. On change, and you have to update it in the state object we have taken. So take that one, and we have to simply deconstruct that complete shipped, and we have to take the data we want to update. So we'll take this receiver, and we have to set the value, and simply close that one. We need to create one more input field for the index. So let me do this very quickly. Close this one, and we have to close this one, and let's create the another one. So I'm going to type it very quickly. You can simply copy and paste and simply replace the value, but let me write it very quickly, because I'm using an extension, so I cannot copy it. Simply update the index. Close that one, close this one, close this, close this one. We're going to take the button, and we're going to attach the function. So it's going to have the change status functions, and we have to assign the same classes which we assign to every single button. So let's assign it very quickly. Change status, and we'll see close the button. You can type complete shipment, whatever you want. Complete the form, complete the div, complete the div, complete the div, close it, and we have to say this empty. And with that, we are done with this entire block, complete shipment. Hope you guys can follow with me, and everything's working fine. Close this one, and now we can test this out. We are done with this. We can easily able to get that one. Let's test this out. Everything's working fine. This one is also working fine, and if I click on this complete shipment, you can see the pop-up we have. This is the complete shipment, the address, and this what we have to provide it, and this is the change status we have. So what I will do, I'll come here. So this is the one which is in transmitted. Okay, so if I want to change the status of those product tracking which their status is pending, so I'll get an error. I can call this function complete statement in only those product tracking which has the status to in transmitted, because this is the logic we have applied. So if I click on this, and that we have to pass the address, so I'll pass the address of the receiver, and I will go with index 0. I'll click on this change. It will open up the MetaMask, and it will make the transaction. So let me click on this confirm, click on confirm, and here you can see the transaction went through. And if I scroll down here, you will find the data is changed. So this is the timestamp you have got for the particular delivery. This is the paid because we have made the transactions completed, and this is the product is delivered. So the logic is absolutely working fine. If you want to do the changes here as well, you can do that. So first click on this, provide the recipient, and go to the index index 1. Click on this get shipment. You can type it start shipment, confirm it, and the browser will reload and you can see the status is changed. And if you want to convert it, you can simply get the data, you can type it and you can see the data is updated. So status is 1 means we are in the transaction. You can display the actual like in transmitting that value which we have defined here, this one. Okay, now we have to click on this complete statement. In that we have to pass the address. We'll say number 2 index, not 2, 1 index. Click on this change status and we have this MetaMask. Click on confirm and the status is changed and deliver. This looks absolutely fine. Let's create one more very quickly so we can do the further testing. So go to this one, distance is going to be something big. Let's say price is going to be 12, very less, but it's actually too much for in terms of ether. Click on confirm and the transaction went through. You can see it's pending. All the logic is working fine. Now we're going to work on the last component, which is a profile component, and that's what we're going to attach it right up here. So let's start working on it. And we are building. Hope you guys have followed me so far and you have understood all the component, all the logic we have built in this application. So let's come here and let's start working on it. So the one we go to work it now is we are done all of this. We have to work on the, this is also we done it. We have to work on the profile. Click on this profile and we have to import a couple of things from React. So React use state, use effect, that's coming from React. Now we have to import the image. We have to do the internal import and we have to import the images for the avatar which we are about to use. And now we have to export the default component, and then we have to receive the props we have sent. Open profile, set open profile. We have to say current user. We have to say get shipment count, so how many shipments a particular user have created in the contract. That's what we're going to fetch it. And now we're going to take this data const count and we're going to simply take this count. Now we'll take this use effect, and in that we're going to simply call this function. We'll say get shipment, we'll say const get shipment data, we'll call this function, and that we're going to say return async because we are dealing with the synchronous behavior, the same logic we have followed in the index space. That's what we are doing here. We'll say, and we're going to simply say const all data await ship data, get shipment data. Once we have the data, we have to simply update the data to set counts. That looks fine, and we have to simply close this empty array. So that's the function, and now we have to write the entire JSX. So we'll return open profile is true, then we have to display the component, otherwise we have to hide it. So the same logic we are following here as well. We'll take a div and we have to take the same classes on the first two div. So let me quickly take it, or you can simply copy paste from the previous component. This is the same classes we have to assign for a opacity 41. We'll take the onClick function and we have to set this to false. We have to close it, close this one, and now we have to work on the actual component. So the first header is going to be the same, so let's define the same classes, and inside that we'll have a class. It's also going to be the same: full width, max LH, badging 4, auto, background white. So the same classes we have applied in the previous pop-up model, the same classes we have applied here as well. We'll take a div, it will have a flex end, and inside that we're going to take this button. This is going to be our close button. It will have an on click function and we have to set this to false so we can close the pop-up model. And then we have to take the icon. So the icon is provided to you. I'm going to write the code because I forgot to import the model, the component, icon component. So let me take this CSV file and let me write it very quickly. We'll take a div, it will have the classes same. The body we have to define. You can simply copy the previous components bodies and you can paste and you can do the changes, but let me write it very quickly. It will have an image, and the image is coming from the, like, we have to assign the width classes. We have to assign the source, so we'll have a, inside the image folder we have this avatar image which is given to you. We'll have this, close the image, and we're going to take this h5 and that we're going to say margin bottom 1, text excel, font medium, text gray 900, dark text white. We'll say welcome trader. That's the message we want to display, and we're going to simply close this one. We'll come here we're going to take a span, and inside that it will say text small, text gray 500, dark gray 400, and inside that we have to display the address of the user, so that's the one we have to pass it here. Close this one, and once we have the address, we're going to take this div. It will have a class flex top 4 space x3, and on the medium devices top 6. Inside that we're going to take this a, and this will have the href. This is going to provide, you can provide any links, totally up to you. And in this we'll have a class flex item center, padding x4, y, text small, font medium, and the same classes we have assigned to the anchor. That's what we have to assign here, and we have to close it. In that we have to assign the balance of the user, so I'm going with the hardcode function, hardcode balance. You can display with the functionality. Okay, that's very easy, but I'm not going to do it in this video. This is the balance of the user, and the only thing I want to display the number of counts, that how many product tracking he or she has created in the contract. So let's define that very quickly. The same classes we have to assign to this as well. And we have to simply close it, and in that we have to pass the actual data which is coming from the contract. So we'll say total shipment, and we have that in the count, and we have to close that one. So for the balance, you can create a function which fetch the balance from the MetaMask, and you can render that, but I'm not going to do that. I just leave it for you guys because we have done almost thousands of time on my channel, so I just want you to give a try and try to fetch the data. Looks fine. Close this one, come here, close this one, close the div, close the div, close the div, close the div, and close it, and we have an empty. That's it. So with that, we are finally done with this entire project. So let's have a look. Everything's looking absolutely fine. Come here, and we have done with all the components. You can see it's absolutely incredible. So we have work on all of these files, start, tablet, and that's also looking pretty good. Close this one, and now things look good. Now it's time to test this out because our application is 100% ready. Come here, reload the browser, and you can see everything is looking absolutely fine and incredible. So these are the things we have created, and if you can click here, complete shipment, you will have this pop-up which is also working. You can get the data of the particular shipment, that's also working. You can start the shipment, that's also working. And this is the user profile we have work on. Click on this, and it's also working fine. So we have this text, this is the address, and right now he has created three tracking, product tracking. That's what we are displaying here. And you can display the balance of his wallet by creating a simple function, which I have already done and show you a lot of times, so you can create that. So everything is working fine, guys. Everything is working fine. Let me come here, let's do the inspect element, and you can see it's 100% responsive. You can simply slide it down and you can check what are the data we have here. Now close this one, and let's create one more. Click on this, provide the address, pick the date. So we're gonna go with 19. Distance is going to be 340.55. Price is going to be 45. Click on this create shipment, and here we have the MetaMask. It's popped up, and you are making the transaction. Click on this confirm, and the transaction went through, and we have created that one. So this is the index 3. This index 0 1, 2 and 3. So we're gonna simply change the status to this. So what I will do, first I have to start the shipment, provide the receiver address, provide the receiver, so it's a index 2, and we have to click on this get started, get details. In case you have to type start, confirm, and here the transaction went through. You can see that we have changed that and transmitted. It's also working fine. Now I have to click on this get data. If I pass this, let's say 2, I'll get the data. You can see I'll get the data. So this is the data we have. What is the data we have? Bara 12. You can see the data is working fine. Now if I want to get the complete the shipment, I have to pass this, and I have to pass the, let's say 2. Click on this change status, and this will complete the assignment, the delivery process. Click on this, and this looks fine. You can see deliver timestamp. So everything is working fine 100%. I believe that you guys have enjoyed this project. If you guys have stuck anywhere, make sure to rewatch and try to understand the logic which we have built. I have already provided the starter file on my website. Simply visit to dollar.com, click on the article, download the starter file which I have explained, and you will get all the assets which I have provided to you. Okay, so I want you to rewrite the code along with me, and that will give you a maximum learning, and you will not be in trap of copy paste, because when you have an option of copy paste, most of the time you're going to do that. Okay, so that's why I'm not going to provide you the complete code, but you will get the assets. So you will get this CSV file, in that you will have all the icons, you will get the all the configuration setups, but all of these codes you have to write along with me. Okay, so with that, I'm ending this video. Hope you guys have enjoyed and you have liked this project. If yes, then do like and subscribe, and let me know do like and subscribe to my channel, and let other knows about my channel, because that's a really great help for me, because ultimately your motivations, your efforts, your help, I really need to grow this channel. So I really need your support, guys. So do let me know if you guys really want me to continue working on the new projects. So I really need your supports. With that, I'm ending this video. Have a wonderful day. Bye bye.